Regret, remorse, a little bit of joy. It's the aftermath of Record Store Day 2022.
That video room ain't going to be a youth hangout.
Bob Fonseca here with you once again in my media room, this time to talk about Record Store Day 2022. It's been a couple days now. I've had time to reflect. You know, this was my first Record Store Day ever, and I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm not sure it's something that you can actually win. If you're like me, if you're a little OCD and it's important to win at things, Record Store Day is probably not something you're going to win. I'm going to have to put it in the same class as going to Disney World. You're never going to win that, okay? I'm not saying you can't have a good time, but you're not going to ride all the rides, and you're going to get disappointed, and the food's terrible, and you're going to leave $10,000 lighter in the wallet and with many regrets and things. You just can't win it. The truth be known, there are many more people out there that can game it better than you can. And listen, just try to go with the flow and have a good time. That's about the best you can do. The second is maybe a new car deal. You know, are you ever going to win on a new car deal? Let's face it, these salesmen are trained. They are programmed to take you any way they can. In fact, they would probably even lie to their own mother to just get a little bit of margin out of a deal, a little more margin. Now, I'm not saying there's not good people out there, but in general, again, you're probably going to take a loss on that deal. And then the third is Record Store Day. I don't know if you can actually win it unless you're maybe a trust fund baby and you have unlimited funds, or you're maybe a software engineer with discretionary income and you can just buy everything that's released on Record Store Day. Or maybe if you're a person that doesn't possess the gene that holds regret and remorse, I think maybe you can win or survive Record Store Day. I am none of those three people that I've just outlined, and so for me, Record Store Day, in retrospect, I wish I could have done it better. And I haven't fully examined that. It's just a general feeling I have 2 days after the fact. I do have regret. I do have remorse. I have a little bit of joy. But why did I make the choices that I made? Why did I pick the record store that I picked? And did I prepare enough ahead of time? Well, all these questions and more hopefully will be answered. I need to know. Either that or I've got to do a little bit of couch time with my therapist. But I will say, speaking of therapy and being a little bit crazy when it comes to this hobby of collecting vinyl, my first take on arriving at the record store, which by the way was maybe 30 miles from my house, I chose a record store that I knew had ample parking and was going to get allegedly a pretty good allocation of our RSD releases. So I chose to go 30 miles away from my home, and I think it was a good move. Went to Piranha Records in Round Rock. By the way, I must add, it's one of the only record stores that I've ever seen that had a public restroom. Yeah, can you believe that? I didn't need it because I went to Piranha Records bone dry. I wasn't going to take any chance. Usually it's pretty consistent across the board. The record stores have two signs on their door. One, no crybabies and no refunds, and two, no public restrooms. So surprised to see that the fine folks at Piranha Records had a public restroom, though it wasn't needed, but it's good to know. But I was a little bit encouraged when I showed up and I saw a line of about, 100 yards, a football field in length, a queue of a couple hundred people in line. It made me realize that I'm not the only crazy person when it comes to this hobby. And there are people much more crazier than me. I saw sleeping bags and tents and folding chairs and things like that. People, I don't know how long people had camped out or what they were camping out for. I'm assuming one of the things was one of the releases that I grabbed at my second record store of the day. But yeah, it was good to know that I'm not alone, because this thing of collecting records, especially in the days of the internet, when you buy a lot of stuff online, it's kind of a lonely hobby, and there's times when you think that you're the only nut job in the place, and you find yourself defending yourself to your friends and wife and family why you're doing this. And I was kind of reminded of that as I got into the record store about 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. They opened the doors at 10 o'clock. I was there at 8:30 in the morning. I was there with some friends, so we were able to, have a nice chat, and I met some nice people, a nice byproduct of Record Store Day. But they had us snake through the store before we got to the aisles with the Record Store Day releases, and one of the aisles that we passed was the dollar record bins. And I couldn't help but think that all the records I have in my collection behind me and downstairs in my office and over there and over here were one day going to be in a dollar bin when my kids sell my records by the pound after I'm long gone, and they end up in a dollar bin. Is it worth it, or maybe should we just be streaming? Why do we do this crazy hobby? I don't know. The biggest question of the day is why I made the choices that I made. And I do have some regrets. I do have some titles that I wondered why, in retrospect, I passed on. This is the big daddy here, I felt like. I felt like this was the star of Record Store Day 2022. The Ramones 7-disc box set. It's called, well, you know what it's called because you're watching this video. The Sire albums 81 to 89. This was the number one thing on my list because I'm a big Ramones fan. I felt like it was highly collectible, relatively limited. I've read reports it was 10,000, but according to the box, it's 14,000 run. I have number 6303. I had to go to a second record store to get it because the first record store that I just talked about ran out pretty quick. Like I said, there was a pretty good queue of people. I don't imagine they had many copies. So this one ran out pretty quick, but this was my goal. So what happened when, so I went to Record Store Day with a budget in my mind anyway of about $200. I felt like that was fair. I feel like I could still feed my family and pay bills and splurge a little bit and spend $200 on Record Store Day. I ended up doubling that. And the reason for that is when I couldn't get a hold of this at the first store, I just figured, well, guess I'm not going to get it. I wasn't going to pursue it online or anything like that after the fact. I assumed they'd all be sold on the 22nd. And so I grabbed a few more titles at that first record store, thinking that I had the budget to do that within my $200. So I grabbed about $250, as it turned out, worth of albums. Now, in retrospect, did I need those records that I bought? I could have taken that $250 and bought 7 or 8 Tone Poets, right? Instead of some of the crazy titles that I got. Could have bought some audiophile records. I could have bought 3 one-steps if I could find them, right? And so it's kind of interesting to think about it in that way of how I could have used that toward my hobby, those funds, if I hadn't gone to Record Store Day. But I was caught up in the spirit of it, caught up in the fun, and you got to make split-second decisions as you're going through the bins. And what shocked me, I guess, as I watched in the last couple of days all the other haul videos on YouTube, is I was like, oh, I say I'm a big Lou Reed fan. Why didn't I buy the Lou Reed? Why didn't I buy the Rolling Stones? Why didn't I buy some of those other, big releases? What was the other one that I saw that was like the Bowie stuff? How did I pass on Bowie? I'm a huge Bowie fan, a huge Lou Reed fan, huge Rolling Stones fan. And I opted not to pick those up. Why did I pass on the Doors box? It would have been a good investment. And we'll talk about investments in just a second as I analyze this. Or I could shut the video off now and just call my therapist and do an emergency hour of therapy. That would be another $200. Here's some of the surprises. I picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks like 8 titles outside the Ramones box. So I picked up 8 titles at the first store. And in retrospect, and I've used the word retrospect too many times, I'm not sure why I got the ones that I did and passed on the ones that I passed, other than it was the thrill of the hunt and it was my first record store day. I did not prepare a list. I did not look at the list ahead of time. So a lot of times I didn't know what was coming. I should have just grabbed more stuff, put it under my arm, and made the decision later on in the morning or as I went to the cash register whether I was going to keep everything or not. Here's the big surprise of I shouldn't say it's a surprise because this was a well-covered record in the pregame videos. This record here, and you can see I have a habit lately of cutting out the hype stickers and putting them on a piece of paper, backing or whatever, and then cutting them and just dropping them down there. I feel like it's something I want to keep. So that's what I do. It's a little upside down, a little wonky there, but this record here surprised me when I listened to it last night. Now, it shouldn't have surprised me because it's a craft recording. It's on the Contemporary label. It's pressed at Quality Record Productions. Is that right? Is that the name? QRP? Quality Record Pressings? Sorry, Analog Productions. Though it's not an Analog Productions release per se, it's craft, but man, this thing sounds good. This Art Pepper meets the rhythm section. Didn't know what to expect. I didn't realize till after I got it home that it's mono. But man, it's like no mono that I've ever heard before. Sometimes mono can be really tight and sound like it's just coming from the center of the room. This thing has like some spaciousness. Like how can one mono sound so tight and another mono seem so open? This thing is really open and it sounds amazing. I have no complaints that it's mono, and I was just blown away. I was taken aback by some of the drum solos that are in here, or drum breaks, I should say. I don't know jazz terms, but and then the blowing on it's good. That's jazz talk for playing a horn. I'm just now getting into jazz. So anyway, no regrets, no remorse, no second thoughts about this one after I heard it. The only second thoughts I have or regrets on some of these things are the fact that I opened them. Like, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do with record store day releases, right? You open up the cellophane, you rip off the shrink wrap, and you can smell the depreciation practically as you're doing it. And you're wondering, what, should I keep them sealed and just stream it and listen to it? Or, what? I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I opened them all and I played most of them in the last 2 days. Maybe not all the way through, maybe just selected sides. I think there's a few sides I haven't heard, but in general, this is my top pick of the 7 or 8 titles that I picked up. Excellent, just excellent. Flat, dead silent, high quality, tip on, heavy vinyl, great cover, timeless cover. You can't tell if this guy this record's from 1957? That was a year after I was born, right? But this photograph looks like it was just taken yesterday. Could be a dude, could be a hipster down the park with a saxophone. Art Pepper, enjoy it. Really liked it. No regrets. No regrets. Regretted this one on the way home, but then when I heard it, not so many regrets. Rory Gallagher. Now, I have one other Rory Gallagher record in my collection. I've known of Rory Gallagher since my days of living in England in the 70s, and, heard it on the radio. I don't think I ever bought any Rory Gallagher, but no regrets about this one. Again, quality, super heavy duty, glossy, gatefold jacket. Just well done. The labels are cool, the record labels, everything. The vinyl is super heavy, quiet, and the tunes are pretty good. I don't have a lot of this kind of stuff. I have Stevie Ray Vaughan, I have Kenny Burrell in the jazz department. Of course, I have Hendrix. I have a little bit of Clapton on CD, but I don't listen to it much. But you know what? I sat down and listened to this yesterday. This Rory Gallagher, or Rory Gallagher, depending on how you want to pronounce it, live in San Diego. I believe I've got my cutout hype sticker covering it. Live in 74, San Diego, the year I graduated from high school in England. And man, this is pretty tasty. and that's kind of a pun because wasn't he in a band called Taste? Enjoyed this thoroughly. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of stuff that's like this. And I was listening to it and I was hearing all these different influences. I was hearing the influence on Stevie Ray Vaughan. I was hearing the influence on Thin Lizzy. I was hearing all kinds of stuff in this. The bass playing, it's a tight combo. Deep Purple, overtones of Deep Purple, believe it or not. And worth the money. Okay, this is one of those, what I paid for this, I could have bought a Tone Poet, in the regular section, not in the record store day section. But this one is a keeper, and I'm glad I got it. It's quality all the way, from the packaging to the sound, to the quality of the vinyl. Dead silent. Rory Gallagher, live in San Diego, 74, a keeper. Happy with that one. This was the second record I went in for. All right, don't judge. Jackson 5, ABC. This was great record. And I wanted this because a few weeks ago I bought the companion 1,000 record pressing limited run of Diana Ross Presents. Now this one, they don't tell you what the run is, and it's not on the hype sticker like on Diana Ross Presents. But I wanted to get this as a companion piece, and I'm glad I did. It's kind of a cool cover. Nice big hype sticker there. Makes you feel good about your purchase. Beautiful blue vinyl. Of course, I opened it and played it. I don't know if it's the best sound. I mean, the record's dead flat, which is good. It's kind of a little bit compressed. I don't know how it's sourced. Maybe sourced from the digital files or the CD. I don't know. I don't care. With this kind of record, it doesn't really matter that much. You're just reliving your youth. And listen, there's a lot of good pop stuff. I'm a big Motown fan. And I will say, though, I wonder sometimes if Jackson 5 is actually Motown, in that sometimes I get an LA vibe from the Jackson 5, and sometimes I get, this record in particular gave me very much a Gamble and Huff kind of Sounds of Philadelphia vibe. Like more like Philly soul rather than Detroit Motown. You be the judge. Listen to it yourself. It's got a few covers on it you might recognize, but again, no regrets on this one. It wasn't an expensive disc. It was in the $25 range, I think. And for everything you get, it's not bad. It's not bad, and the color of the vinyl's great. It was dead flat, pretty quiet, no complaints. Looks good on the old studio deck. I'm not going in any particular order. I did have this one on my list. Maybe this is in a particular order. The Reubenus. Now, you don't know who they are. You can look it up and you'll go, wow, how come I never heard of these guys? The Reubenus. Hold it up here. I've had their second album and loved their second album for a long time. It's called Back to the Drawing Board. This is their debut album. It's got this really funky, weird painting. I would put this in the power pop category. If you like Dave Edmunds, Nick Lowe, you like especially the Raspberries or whatever, this is the band for you. Originally released on Berkeley Records or Berserkly or whatever it was. Was it Berserkly? I think it was Berserkly. You would be hard pressed to find a clean copy of this, I would imagine. This was on my list to pick up if I saw it. Don't know what the run on this is. It comes. Does it say here? It doesn't say. Seminal power pop debut album. Kind of piss yellow vinyl. I couldn't even figure out where they took the cues for the yellow, why they picked yellow, except there's a little strip of yellow right here. As an art director, or a wannabe art director, I try to figure out why, people that make stuff make the choices that they do, but maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a cue from that little bit of yellow. Right there, or the yellow from my shirt. It's actually the same yellow. Look at that. Right down to the Pantone number. Again, I was lucky with all my records that they were all flat. They were all relatively silent, so I have no complaints. This was one that was on my list. I listened to it. This band was borderline brilliant when it came to writing songs. I wonder where they are today. I know they've kind of played the circuit for a long, long time. And they have grown old as I have grown old. And I got a little misty-eyed listening to this because it did take me back to 1977, 78. You know, when I was a younger dude, and loved listening to stuff like Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe and the Reubenus and Raspberries and the Clash and all that stuff. And speaking of Nick Lowe, why did I need another copy of this record? Why do we collect records sometimes for the covers alone? In this case, it's pretty much the same cover of the other versions I have of this, except the name is different, Wireless World. And how prophetic is that name, if that's the right word? Nick Lowe originally considered renaming or naming Pure Pop for Now People, or Jesus of Cool as it was known in the UK. He was thinking about Wireless World as a title at the time as well, along with 100 other titles, I'm sure. But I feel like it's kind of prophetic, the word wireless, right? Yeah, that conjures up some questions and some images, like how he thought of that. What was he meaning by Wireless World? Because it really wasn't a wireless world in what year did this come out? 78? Somewhere between 1977 and 1980. I don't remember. It doesn't say here. But basically, most of the same tracks that you get on both the English and the American versions. But, you know, you're making those split-second decisions, and you put it in your, you know, it's $25, and you put it in your arm, you know, under your arm. You tuck it under there, and you just go to the counter with it. No regrets, but kind of question why. You know, would I've been better off buying the Lou Reed? I don't know. This one's a mystery to me. This was the first one I picked up. And I got nothing against Joan Jett. In fact, I've seen her in concert a couple times. Really good show. I really appreciate her. She's one of the... I don't listen to a lot of female vocalists. I've talked about this before. Listen, I love females. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, you know, lyrically, they're not speaking to me a lot of times. But artists like Joan Jett, Chrissie Hein, who's some of the other artists I listen to, they do speak to me. And Joan Jett's one of those. And I thought, well, I'll get this. Again, it wasn't one of the $30 ones. It was more like mid-20s. And really don't know why I picked this up. It doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound horrible. It's got 8 songs on it. I think they're a teaser for a future release, a bigger release of acoustic songs. So what are you going to do? You know, certainly not going to go in the dumpster, but I don't know how often I'll play it. Maybe it'll surprise me. I had high hopes for it, and I may still have high hopes for it. You know, I really like the Chrissie Hein acoustic Dylan album, so maybe this will have kind of that same vibe. But well, what are you gonna do? You're making choices on the spot. What would I bought instead of this? Or maybe I would have just saved on the budget and thrown it back. Anyway, I opened it. It's mine now. Here's another one. Though this does have some kind of ironic, funky kind of feel to it. You know? Genie C, Riley, Harper Valley PTA. I do like that it... Let me take this out. This is also yellow vinyl. Slightly different shade than the Reubenus. You know, it's just a funky package, right? It's the original. It even has the fan club information down here. It doesn't sound bad. I listened to it yesterday. And I was interested in this one because I had a lot of success, or I really enjoyed the... Bobby Gentry Ode to Billy Joel release. I think that was a Record Store Day release a year ago or a few years ago that I picked up somewhere and really enjoyed it. And I don't have a lot of stuff in this category. I like Shelby Lynn. I like Dusty Springfield. Those are a couple of other female artists I collect and enjoy. But this was just kind of funky. I thought it'd be a fun listen. Again, not an expensive record, but you put this together with this, and that's $50, right? So that could have gone toward food or or something, or back in my pocket or whatever. But they're mine. I opened them. They're mine. Mixed feelings. I'm glad I got it because it is a beautiful pack. Absolutely a beautiful, stunning package with foil on it, with matte on it, with nice hype label, limited edition. I think this was limited to 9,000. I don't know what it was limited to. It's just the label's cool. Heavyweight vinyl, heavyweight jacket. Sounds great. I listened to it. It's got some live BBC stuff with James Taylor on guitar. That's nice. If you like blue, you're going to like this because this is the blue stuff from the blue era. And I don't know. I think I was caught up in the packaging and the fact that I do have listened to Joni Mitchell a little bit in recent years and like blue. And I thought, well, when are you going to see this again? This is probably going to sell out, right? So I got it. No regrets. But why did I pick this over Lou Reed? Why did I pick this over Stones? There's another release that I saw that I was like, why didn't I get that? Oh, the Doors box? I don't know what the Doors box went for. I'm not a huge Doors fan. This was just kind of unusual. I like Darlene Love. I like the Phil Spector stuff. This is her reprise stuff. Has a 4-page insert with liner notes. It's pressed on a kind of a translucent teal. It's nice. Look, it's got the Steamboat label. Or the Riverboat label, whatever they call it. Haven't listened to this yet, but I like the cover. It's got kind of a throwback vibe. It's not a tip-on. It would be cool if it was. So it doesn't necessarily have... I don't even know if this is an original cover or a cover that was created just recently for this compilation, which I assume that's what it is. I didn't even know Darlene Love was on Reprise at any point in her career, or Reprise. I know she was with the Phil Spector label early on, and so I'll give this a listen. Hopefully it's got a cool Aretha Franklin, vibe to it. I know the vocals are going to be outstanding, right? That's guaranteed, but hopefully it sounds good. So that haul, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those 9 records. Those 9 records were $250. So let's call it an average of $25, $26. I'm a DJ, so, well, I'm a talk show host, but it's hard for anybody in radio to do basic math. Otherwise, we'd be engineers. So, you average about $26, $27 a record or whatever it is. And, that's more than I would normally spend, even buying records on vacation or something like that. So I got a little bit caught up in the moment, and, I made some good choices. I made some unusual choices. Still thinking about that Lou Reed record. Still thinking about the Rolling Stones. The other thing too is, again, some of the regret that I have. Now listen, those records will give me listening pleasure and enjoyment at different times in my future. But, I kind of question, should I open them? Should I not open them? That's the problem I have with the Ramones box right now. I have not opened it yet. It's like, it takes the courage of like a fireman running into a burning building to open up and take the shrink wrap off of something like this, don't you think? And I don't mean to minimize the effort and the risk that firemen take. I'm just saying, for me, that's the kind of courage I need to open something like this, because it's such a beautiful... Listen to that. It's such a beautiful package. And what do? Am I a collector? Am I a fan? Am I a listener? What should I do? Right? I can stream all this stuff on my Blue Sound, right? At a high rate. And get just as much enjoyment. But do I want to rip the shrink off and rip the shrink off the original albums? They look like they're maybe, well, I don't think they're individually shrink wrapped, but man, that's one of the things about this hobby. That's one of those things to get over. There's still a couple of one-steps I haven't opened yet. There are people that say, live your life. Enjoy your life. You know, you only live once. But look at this. Man, kind of wish I got the Doors box, even though I don't even like the Doors. Is it wrong? You know, I mean, it's kind of like those guys that buy guitars and put them under their bed. Guilty as charged. That's it. That's my review. That's my look back at Record Store Day 2022 after a couple of days of reflection and thought and regret and remorse and joy. I wish I had enough money to buy them all. It was fun. I don't know how I'll do it next time. I think I'll try to go with a list. You may not agree with my choices. I don't agree with my choices, so we're in agreement on that. Not all my choices anyway, but there were some surprises in the bunch, and maybe that's what it's all about. Being surprised and sometimes being disappointed. Hell, I bought a 3-disc Mobile Fidelity Bob Dylan box set of Blonde on Blonde, and the 3rd disc looked like a cereal bowl. So, you know, you're going to have disappointments in this hobby, and that's part of the fun. So enjoy collecting records. Join us again in the media room. We do some crazy stuff in here. And I want to thank you for watching, and look for you at the next Record Store Day.